Hey, this is Mike with 4,000 Weeks, and you're watching People of Passion. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mike with 4,000 Weeks and Going Nowhere, and today I have the privilege of having a very special guest here today in the studio. I am absolutely excited for this People of Passion, and you guys should be too. It is none other than the Metro Detroit band. They're a hard rock blues band, Faded. You're going to all know who they are one day. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and introduce their names and their instruments, and then we're going to get to talking about a lot of fun and exciting things that we have in the works.
I'm Gavin Pierce. I'm the lead guitarist of Faded, and I also do the backing vocals. I'm the lead singer of the band. I'm Garrett Pierce, and I do bass guitar and rhythm guitar.
I'm Hunter Peterson, also known as Honey P, but I am the drummer. I do live backing vocals.
So everybody, thank you for watching the show. Just a little quick intro about People of Passion. We do these interviews. I like to go out and see local shows. I'm in a couple bands. We jam with other bands, and I like to get people down here in the studio. We call it Mic'd Up Studios down here. Just get to know the band a little bit, maybe announce some exciting, important details of something going on, whatever, just a way to communicate with everybody out there. Then we get down and dirty and we record some live music. We make some music videos. We get some clips made for these guys. I think Faded is one of those bands that everyone needs to see. So the more content we can get out there, the luckier you are if you run across it. So we played a show with these guys in Pontiac at the Crowfoot. It was an epic show, and crazy to say it, before these guys even got on stage, we already knew something special was about to happen. I have the privilege here to talk to them, and so we're just going to get to know them a little bit, and we're going to talk about some exciting news of their up-and-coming album. So if you guys want to...
Thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem. This is honestly, like, and just let you know, like, I'm saying this going down the history books, like, their label one day might tell me to take this video down, so if you want to see it, it'll be on my Google Drive. But so anyways, these guys, I'm going to let them kind of just talk a little bit about the band. I like to get like a nice overview from their point of view on like, where does your guys' sound come from? Like, what do you guys, when you guys write music and you go to the album, I know you say you like to write all different kinds of music, but like, where's the intent of your soul when it comes to putting these songs down?
So we grew up, my brother and me, always listening to all kinds of bands. One of the first bands we got into was Cream. So nice. I like the sound, very unique, you know, and all kinds of
experimental.
Definitely. Yeah, they invented so much.
And we always kind of kept that in mind, to be experimental and have a wide variety of different music. And, you know, we always love rock and roll, heavy rock and roll, blues. You know, we love all types of genres.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith, Leonard Skinner, you know, all of them. Just, it's really inspiring, you know.
Yeah, a lot of those guys that you mentioned, like, not only were they like huge icons in the space, but like they invented maybe that lane of what was happening.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's like when you have somebody like that, like, and some people call him a disruptor back then because like people didn't like these new genres surfacing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it is how we like create culture, and it takes just like one band, couple bands, and it's contagious. You know, I mean,
absolutely.
You're talking about bands that were around 60, 50 years ago, and here we are today, and we're still like, you know, feeding off of this and letting it fuel our fires. So what about you, Hunter? Where did you kind of get your start, and where's your influence kind of come from?
Yeah, so basically when I was like a younger kid, my dad, we used to drive to my grandma's house, and he always put me like on his lap when he was driving. So that was like the first time I heard music. He'd always be playing like Bon Jovi or like Kid Rock or Aerosmith. So that was like the first ones I heard. And then I wanted to take lessons for guitar because my older stepbrother, he played guitar, and my dad didn't want me to do the same exact thing, so he put me into drums, and then getting into drums led to playing Kiss songs or like Green Day, because that was like another one me and my stepbrother really liked growing up. So I really started with like punk rock, like Green Day or like Sum 41.
Nice.
And then I kind of did my own thing. I started getting into like Motley Crue, or like Bon Jovi kind of came back, or AC/DC was a big one, and then so there's like classic rock, then there's like blues stuff like Jimi Hendrix too. That was another big one that I was kind of on. Mitch Mitchell. He's a drummer for Hendrix, but he was incredible.
Yeah.
So he's a big one that I like. Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers too. He's really good too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a band with a guy who's like obsessed with Chili Peppers.
Oh,
so it's like
OG,
we're always jamming
yeah.
funk and having those fun.
Nice.
I mean, following those beats, like that's where you can get creative as a drummer. 'Cause,
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times when you're in the pocket in a rock song, like don't get me wrong, you're the one holding the whole entire thing together.
Yeah.
But when you start branching off into some of these other genres, like the drums actually start to kind of develop their own voice a little bit more. You know, it's a little bit less like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a lot more fills and a lot more flair and stuff. So it kind of helps you be a little bit more of a percussionist, you know, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
Like when we jam, and it'll be like me and Garrett are kind of feeding off each other, and so I'll mimic what he's playing on the drums, but then like I like to like do stuff that's like not weird, but like different,
It's unique,
like,
it makes it stand out.
or like something that's like it fits the structure, but
it's different, yeah. It's got
its own language.
If
That's
you
the
layer a
beauty
bunch
of
of the
it.
same sounding things on top of each other, it's just the
Yeah.
same sounding thing.
Right. Yeah, no,
Like-
I feel in with
he-
that, and I
that's,
love that
you
how
know,
he
his
like
magic.
us. Yeah, I love how he's like us. We all love a big variety of different music, and it's really what our band is based on, and sharing our music to the people. You know.
Mm.
And our very first instruments that we got into was acoustic guitars. We got them one year for Christmas, and I just wanted them. I just always wanted to play the guitar. I always found, it like.
It's therapeutic, man.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
exactly.
Like that sound that comes out of that thing is like sometimes I have to like is that a guitar? Because it's like the way that people make. that
Oh,
sound,
man.
but-
Beautiful. He was the first one that started playing it, and then I like, man, he's getting really good at it. And then it
Dude, I
took
need
me
to
a
play the
little.
bass. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Right. And then it took me a little bit to get up there. Then I like, oh wait, yeah, no, this is amazing. So then I started playing guitar for years, and then a few years later, I picked up the bass. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is
man.
cool.
And I switched to
Piano.
electric. I play acoustic and electric, but yeah, I fell in love with the electric guitar, man. And then it's so cool with the pedal boards, amps, all kinds of
that's
stuff
what I'm
to
saying.
get
You
in.
can make it sound
you
like
know?
whatever you want, man, and you shred too. So
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
It's so fun.
I'm limited with what I do, and then I watch guys like you play, and I'm like, all right, I'll get,
I don't know
I'll
how
get
he
halfway
does
there
it.
one day, maybe. Hopefully.
I don't know how
Yeah.
he does it. I just see his hand
Yeah.
glisten. I'm like, whoa.
And
It's-
I just
it's
feel it,
TGI.
man. It's that's the best way I can speak is when I'm playing my guitar.
I think that's a really important thing, especially for like the viewers watching this. I talk about it. I try to talk about certain common things in each interview, but it's like talking about like music itself. A lot of people are intimidated and they think like if you don't got it, you can't play and stuff like that. But it's like, you might not be like Shreddy McGee like you on the guitar, but like still
Thank
being
you,
able
man.
to pick up a guitar and play something or play a cool beat or
Absolutely.
something is like therapy. And
Yeah.
like you said, it's like it's your way of speaking.
It
It's
is,
like,
man.
I know a lot of people, I'm very fluent with my words. Like I think very quickly, right away it comes out what I want to say. But I know a lot of people that are not like that. And so they're a little bit more reserved. And often I find those people are either writers or painters or some form of art. And you could tell it's like their way of like talking to the world. But it's like music is the same way for people. It's like, this is our way of communicating. Like there's been times where like I probably could have just had a conversation with the chick I was dating about something I didn't like. Not in like a mean way, just something I felt hurt about. It was like, I think it'd be easier to write a song and then maybe
There you
she'll
go.
hear it
Yeah.
and hear what I'm,
That
you know,
way
it's
it
like, because I didn't want to mention it.
Yeah.
It's like, but then I put it in a song and it felt like I said it to the whole world, you know?
Yeah,
So,
right. That's the
um,
beauty of it.
yeah.
Works well, music speaks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you
and
go.
Then, and then you're doing it for other people too, like people who don't have that creativity. Like we've all been there. Like I've almost veered off the road, getting so hypnotized by a song. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
Oh
it's
my
great
God,
that like
yeah.
I think it's important that you guys mentioned that you come from all these different influences because I usually can tell very quickly when I meet somebody that like listens to one kind of music. And I'm not
Yeah.
trying to offend them, but they generally have a single way of thinking.
I know what you're saying.
There's other things that you could tell that they don't really diversify a lot in, you know.
Yeah.
They tend to not.
Exactly.
They don't eat a ton of different foods. They don't. And it's like there's something in the
Yeah.
brain. Like they don't want to diversify out. They stay in their comfort
Uh-huh.
zone.
Yeah,
But
I
there's so
agree.
much missed though. Like, and it's
So
like, and even like for, musicians and stuff. Like I hang out with a lot of guys who like to play like really heavy like grindcore and death metal, and
Yeah.
like I'll play some of my alternative stuff, and you could tell they're like, oh, it's wimpy or whatever. And
And
it's
I
like,
have a love for it all.
It's
well, and
all
it's like, but
awesome.
like, you might listen to that alternative song and you might find some kind of like melodic run that you like that you want to put in your grindcore song or just some perspective of it. So it's like you get so limited. And then when I listen to you guys play, I could tell. It's like you guys.
Thanks, man.
It's like, oh damn, that's blues, and then like next one's like, whoa, that's hard rock, and
I
it's like, whoa, the next one's a ballad, and it's like, okay, cool. It keeps you on your feet. Keeps you on to watch the whole show. Mm-hmm. And then you guys put on a great show, by the way.
Thanks, man. Have a little something for everybody, you know.
Yeah, and you got to do it. You know, I think that's important is the showmanship of the songs. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's like you guys duplicate the energy that you write into it, which is really cool.
Thank you.
You know,
yeah, giving a show and all we got on stage is just what I want to do, you know, because they come there to see a show, you know.
Yeah,
so
not,
right. You know what I mean? Talk about wasting someone's time.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like, some of the guys, I'm like, why don't you just like film your band practice and just like message it to everybody? It's like you literally didn't move. Like you're not.
Yeah,
and
like a statue, man.
You have to be into it. I go to this show's called People of Passion, and it's like not everyone is allowed to just come in here and do an interview. Like, you gotta be passionate about what you do. Like, and if you're on the stage and you're not moving around and you're not into it, like how do you expect me to be? You know what I mean? As a viewer, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm paying for these shows. It's a night out, $15-20 a head for a local show. Then after a meal, a couple drinks, and this and that. It's like you just spent $80 to watch some dude not even enjoy himself. It's like if you're gonna lace up the boots and step out in the field, it's like let's play ball. You know? Like,
yeah, because I can definitely tell you bring the people in here that are passionate about music because the Creeping Chaos too. They put on amazing.
I love
amazing
that
show. They're dedicated. Like
you guys too, man. Freaking you guys were.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's what I'm saying. We get into, and because I'm like counting down the minutes until we're on stage.
Yeah, man.
Because I really can't wait to get up there.
As you can tell, you love it.
That's the longest 5 minutes of your life. Like when we just did Machine Shop last month, we were staring at the clock. We went on at like 8 or something. It's 7:55. We stood there for like 30 minutes.
You're like, put my heartbeat any slower. It's like,
man, come on, man. I'm ready now.
Yeah,
everything freezes.
Oh man, the feeling like the second you step out there and you get done with that little sound check and that the first note that rings, your heart is just for like the whole 45 minutes. It does not stop. It is.
I feel like I'm at home when I go on that stage. You know,
Machine Shop was amazing, and the guys that we opened for.
The Ultimate Doors tribute, man.
Yeah,
really
those guys are those guys crush. Like a lot of those tribute bands, like and then. Like those shows are worth it to go see a lot of times.
Oh yeah,
because like they are rehearsed, they are dedicated, they are putting on the show, and guess what? You go there and you have fun.
Everybody knows the music, so everybody's having a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man,
it's great.
Yeah, and then for you guys to like open up into that is like cool because like you guys are all so young, but you really do have an old school sound. Like you really, you know what I mean? Like my stuff's like radio rock. Like people are like, oh, you play dad rock? I'm like, I don't have kids, but I play it. You know, it's like
I don't do.
It's like
amazing.
But it's whatever, you know. But I mean, you guys are cool because it's like you bring in this old school vibe back. You know, it's kind of like when Greta hit the scene. It was just like it had been like. I'm not saying you sound like anybody in particular, but it had just been long enough since that genre of music wasn't in someone's face.
I know what you're saying.
And there was like people that were like telling me that Led Zeppelin sounded like Greta Van Fleet, and I'm like, yo, like you're just really young. You never heard, you don't realize the flip flop
was
here.
First.
Yeah, but like, and not saying you guys sound like anybody, but when you see young guys show up on a stage, it's like. Okay, what are they going to sound like? And then it's this old school, like you hear these blues riff and these thunderous drums and the screams and the solos and it's like, it's like, huh?
Yeah, I love that.
I got my money's worth of that show. Wow, that was
awesome because I want people. I mean, they can compare us to different types of bands and stuff, you know. But I want all of our songs to be a wide variety. So like, you have tons of different artists that influence us, and I want people to tell. That.
Well, because of that, no one's going to go, Faded sounds like blah, blah, blah. They can hear your influences, don't get me wrong. Like, that's great. That's what we're doing, is we're all paying honor to our influences. Like, let's not be ignorant. Like, we're learning what we're doing from somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Slash Zach Wild
woke up with these riffs in their head when they were born. You know what I mean? We listen to our idols. You take it in, you process it how you want it to. You add a little bit of a bad day and a little bit of a traffic jam, and it comes home and it comes out, and then you feel better. You know?
And and I found such a love for singing too because I when I first started, I didn't really think of singing, but more as the time went on, and my mom gave me vocal lessons too, and she's a phenomenal singer too.
Yeah, that's awesome when it's in the family like that too, because then you get the support. Like, it's everybody just starts jumping in for the support. Like, I have a very musical family, too, so I know where that's coming from. But so when you started singing, like, was it, like, a struggle at first? Like, did you find yourself, like, climbing into different stages?
It took a while before I found my voice. And definitely, like I mentioned, my mom, she definitely helped me with that to find it. And then I look up the videos online too for strength training workouts. And then, I figure out, I can scream and then I could do these.
Yeah.
And then eventually
Came into your own with the very
it became my own voice, and I just found such a love for it. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. And we're just a 3-piece band, so it's
you gotta all bring it too.
Yeah,
being a 3-piece, you feel like you can't. You gotta all be on.
I feel like there's just a slight bit of extra respect for a 3-piece.
No, there is. Well, the ones that sound good for sure. Trust me, there's plenty that are like, I just want to be a 3-piece, and they don't sound good. It's like, it probably should have been a 4-piece, but when you see the 3-piece get up there and nothing's missing, you're literally like,
it's
how are
crazy,
they doing that?
right?
Like,
yeah.
It's got to be the right bass riff over that solo, or else it sounds dull. And it's got to be, and it's got to be the right, rhythm riff, and you're singing and playing the bass at the same time, so that's a whole skill set in itself. And I know they said you sing too back there, so it's
they do back.
But any of that, that's what I'm saying. That little extra voice coming from the drums when you're a 3-piece, or like the tones getting dialed in properly. That's huge because like when you got 2 guitar tones meshing together, it's a lot different than when you're trying to like pull everything off with one and to go into a part and not sound flat.
And that's a thing, that's a big compliment we receive. A lot of people are like, oh, it sounds like there's 18 guys up there. It's so awesome to hear people saying that we sound like a big band, and just us 3. They're like, how do you feel?
And
I love that, man.
And I know a lot of bands have like the front man. I never wanted that idea. I want us all equally
front man together.
Because I want to be like, center stage, me. I want, obviously the drums get a big shining too, like the drum solo too.
Yeah.
He kills the
Well, no, that's what I like. You guys make it a show.
Guitar,
awesome drum solo, guitar solo, all that. Yeah.
And we all have equal, showmanship up there. So that why I like
introduce each other as well. Some bands don't even introduce the band, and I think it's very important to introduce.
Well, I think I'll see him. He'll jump up. Let's go,
Yeah,
spinning his sticks. And it's like, dude, most of the time
said.
the drummer's back there like, is the show over yet? And it's like, well, you're playing 14 times too fast, and no, we got 4 more songs to go. You're back there like, let's go.
The band, it's kind of like a bullet, it's business in the front, party in the back.
Hell yeah, well, that's right, yeah. Well, and you're the one gluing it all together, so it's like, why not jump up? If sometimes the crowd doesn't know when they want you to clap to something going on, The drummer jumps up there and starts doing it. It's like, hey, we're all supposed to do that right now, So it's good.
Extra
keep the crowds engaged, too.
And we love doing that in sync stuff, and we love just thinking of new ideas every show. Even if we do like the same songs, we want to do something a little different. So every time people, when they come back to our show, they're saying something different,
Yeah, so when it comes to like the creativity like that on like coming up with things, like I know you're talking about more in this instance showmanship, but when it comes to like writing tracks and stuff like that, like I know you two had existed obviously since you were born together playing music. If you guys couldn't tell, they look really alike.
Yes, fade in a minute,
but so like when it came to like you 3 coming together, and then we're gonna talk about it in a little bit on this album that's about to come out. But like when you guys come into like writing these songs, like what is the creative process like? Is it like a thunderbolt hits you? Is it a slow process, fast process?
It really depends who gets the idea first. If they're hanging out at home, they come up with something and then they show me
some lyrics.
Or if I get an idea, I'm not really too built on the strings.
But you do play though, like guitar to like at least come up with like ideas and stuff,
not really too much. I
just beats of a melody in his head.
Oh, it'll be like a vocal melody.
Yeah, and then I'll like come up with like for example, Hot Mama, I like sang out the guitar riff and the vocals to them,
and then
they brought it to life with that.
We all
and then
brought it together.
It was just a small idea, and then it just like became something else too.
Yeah,
so
we
build
write
off
songs
each
pretty
other.
fast,
Yes, we do.
and it just comes a little idea, and we all just get cooking in the room, and make a good riff, builds a foundation, and we fill in the gaps, and then the vocals usually come. We're starting to do vocals first. We're realizing that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, because you kind of know where like parts are needed, and like if something doesn't fit right, because like I've noticed too that like a verse going into a chorus might sound right like instrumentally, but then like whatever you're coming up with for the vocal cadence, if it doesn't sit on top right, it's not right. So you're right. But so that was what I was gonna ask, because I forgot who it was. I watched like hundreds of like music videos all the time on like advice and stuff like that. Somebody was saying. It was a songwriter, and he was like, like a professional songwriter. He was like, it's not a big deal that even when you first start to write a song, like just try to finish it. like don't, even if you're gonna change it later, like if you don't write like a part and be like, I'm gonna write that song later. And so like, do you guys like just try to at least hash out like an entire like concept of a song, and then you go back and touch up the parts, or are you writing like a verse on a Monday and then like sitting on it for 2 months and do a chorus then?
So it really depends. Sometimes we just write the whole song right there and then we come with different ideas sometimes, and we kind of merge them together.
Yeah,
and
we basically build the skeleton like one day.
Right, that's what
slowly we don't make parts more unique, more that.
Yeah, we're like, hey, let's go into a bridge here, or like, hey, there's a cool little drum fill there, which can lead us into
our
this.
New song that's coming out. You know, we're gonna talk about the album in a little bit later. Like Bitter Love, it had so much creativity in it. Like solo part, won't sound like an orchestra playing, but it's just
random ideas he had, and we got different music and collided it together and made it. So that's really the writing process, and because we don't want a lot of random things just hanging around. It's good to have different things to put in songs.
Well, and that's when that guy made that point. I'm like, you know what? I'm so guilty of that, where I'll like write like a really cool like verse on the piano, and I'll write all the words for the verse, and I'll be like, that's gonna be a fire song.
Yeah.
And then it's like 2 years later, it's like in my phone. I'm like, why didn't I just like write a chorus to it real quick and then type up some lyrics, and then it's at least now it's a song.
I do have a lot
later
of
now,
like
you
that.
could add a piano intro and a breakdown or something, or a rap part. I don't know, but whatever, you know what I mean? It's
I
like,
wrote tons of songs on piano, and I haven't made it to the band yet because it didn't really fit. I have a bunch of songs that.
Right, but they're songs, they're not ideas. That's what I like to hear. Is, and I'm gonna start doing that moving forward. Is like, all right, like if I hit that pocket, like I'm just even if it's not the way it's finished. Like Bob Dylan said, there's a quote from him. It's like, the greatest songs aren't written, they're rewritten. So it's like, that's it. It's like, you could go ahead and write it into a cool little 3-minute song. It might finish off as like a 5-minute,
and
10-second
ballad,
That's pretty much what happened with Bitter Love too. It was just a small idea.
A small little thing, and it ran apart.
Yeah.
Boom.
7 minutes later.
Yeah, and then I had like the lyrics written out, and then Garrett tweaked them to fit his voice better too. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that would definitely happen.
Transpose it or change it or something like that.
Yeah.
But it fits better. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah, it came out.
It's a good one.
So,
I'm excited to do that one live.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. So, how long have you guys been jamming together as the three-piece? I believe last night you guys said Faded started a little bit before in concept and logo and stuff.
Very beginning. So my brother and I, we always, knew that we wanted to do this and make a band. We went through some different names, Arrow and like, but then Faded, about 5 years ago. Yeah, about 5 years ago, we came up with the name Faded, and then I drew this little scorpion thing on my kitchen table, and I kept it ever since. Obviously, tweaked it to make it more flowy. But and a lot of people don't even realize the letters are actually in the scorpion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, FADED.
There you go.
But
look at that. See.
But yeah, my brother and I are Scorpios, so I like that name Faded. It's catchy and.
And Faded, what the name is, we're fading back the classic rock that kind of went away. We're fading it into the new age. That's what Faded means.
Yeah, and that's a good explanation because, a lot of people would assume it's like blazing or something like that, getting faded, but it's like, no, it's cool. And that's what I mentioned is you guys got this like old school sound.
Yeah, it's like fading in the new age.
Like, and it's like a faded sound that's now fading in actually.
That's it,
So,
and then we had few drummers and then, good reasons and stuff. But then we finally met Hunter.
About a year ago.
Couple months ago. And
I think last November, I think. But we've been jamming for probably about a year. Like we were saying earlier, our basement thing, that was like a year ago tomorrow. I guess like a year and a day. Yeah. When we did like our first basement gig.
Okay. All right, so keep that in mind, everybody. When you see this, it's gonna blow your minds. But they're a year in, and I think like a big important part of this story for any like musicians out there, and because like you could take these interviews for what you want, get to know the musicians and stuff like that. But I think sometimes when you get to know somebody else, it helps you get to know yourself a lot more. 100%. And so when you hear these guys talking about they drew this logo 5 years ago, they played their first basement gig a year ago. This takes time. You know, like
It does.
don't sit there and think it's some fantasy reality where you're just gonna like start a band with 2 other dudes and then you're gonna play like your second gig and someone's gonna come up with a record deal. Like it takes hard work, it takes dedication. Like, and this goes out for any artist out there, anybody who's into honestly anything passionate is like to keep your mind focused on something for a long period of time. Like I'm into permaculture, like gardening. Like I plant trees that I might not even eat off of for 5 years. Like it seems to be that like the art usually has the long payoff, like painting a long picture or a giant mural or something like that. But like there's a reason why that energy is so powerful. It's what goes into it. So it's like just know that like there are laws of physics. Like energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Like the more energy you put into your band, the more energy you're going to be able to be putting back out into the world. Like it's just simple physics. Like you can't just show up every month, have a 30-minute, 1-hour band practice, and then sit there and wonder like why this hard work isn't paying off. The reason why is because it's not hard work. These guys are working hard. Like, and you know, like you can tell like when you watch them play that like they're in it for the music too. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't think I've ever heard any of these guys even mention getting a record deal or anything like that. Like, so it's like, do it for yourself, do it for the passion. But then if you do something that you're truly passionate about, when I'm talking about all this hard work, it actually doesn't feel like hard work. It feels like a great time. And then it's something to look back at and build yourself into a stronger being. And it's like, you know, I get more organized in my recording studio. And then it trickles into like other parts of my life where I'm like, I really got to get this organized and I got to get that, because it's like, you know, and so life is a big picture. I'm glad some of the things you guys are saying, I think is stuff that like people really need to hear, you know, especially earlier when you're talking about your vocals, you know. I know some people, I can't sing. It's like your voice is an instrument. It's like they'd be like saying, I can't play the guitar. It's like, well, sure, you can play the guitar if you practice it a bunch. It's like, so if you want to sing, you mentioned videos. Like nowadays, and I say this in all my interviews, like nowadays, and I'm glad I got a comment on it the other day. Some guy made a comment. He said, I only have $400 guitar setup and I make it sound great and I love it and I have a great time. And it's like, you don't need like a crazy amount of guitars. You don't need like a $5,000 drum set. Like, and honestly, your voice is free. And vocal lessons on YouTube are free. Guitar lessons on YouTube are free. Bass lessons on YouTube are free. So
it is.
Any bit of you that says you can't play music is there's something else going on that you need to look into yourself on why you're telling yourself you can't do something, because we could all do whatever we put our mind to. These guys are doing it now, now, and you'll tell like you're gonna go and see these guys live, or you're gonna see these videos, and you're gonna be like, how did they get like that?
Passion.
Because they're passionate and they work hard. So
people of passion.
Yeah, people of passion. Just put in the work.
Yeah, we work hard every day, man, and you know that's the thing. We take baby steps. You know, you're not just gonna go on tour out of nowhere. You're not gonna once you release your album, it's not gonna hit the charts immediately or anything like that. You gotta be very slow with it and take the baby steps and take the precautions in the way. You know,
and so
very passionate.
And if people, you know, enjoy our music, that brings me happiness too. People find love for it. You know,
even if it's 10 people, 100 people, it don't matter.
If it's
one person, I've had one person come up to me, man, that song like really hit me hard, and it was just like, that's not why I wrote it, but it like that makes it keep coming back.
Right. That's
you know,
that's a
it don't matter
feeling.
if it's one person or a million people. It's always it's gonna.
Well, and that's what happens when you're doing it for yourself, is you can make a comment like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like people will be like, I'm not getting any views, and also that's why you wrote that song. Like, sounded like you had something on your chest that you needed to get off. It sounded like that's why you wrote the song, but like. If you wrote it for YouTube views, you're doing it all wrong, because you need a production team and you need this, and you need that, you need this. Like, you want to write music, or do you want someone to click like on there? So it's like, if you do it because you like music, you don't even care how many people click like on it. It's just out there, you know? And
it's just for people, and if one person or many people relate to it, and that's what we want to do, you know, just people relate to our songs and like it, you know, what
we were just talking too, like with the album release coming up, like the new songs, we're just excited to give like our OG fans a taste of something new.
Man, we're so excited.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's and it's like you play for the people that come to see you, and then it keeps you wanting to write more, and then it is motivating, and then it's like it's like a treat for us, you know, because like as a fan, you're also putting in work. You know, like you're dedicated as a fan, and it's
so much of these fans and people for the amount of support that show up to every gig.
Yeah, shout out
Me
to
guys
anybody
are
out there
watching.
supporting music.
Thank you from
anybody.
the bottom of our hearts, because we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you guys too.
The people who come back to every show too, and like our family, and mostly, but back to the people who come to every show. It shows us how big the support system around us.
And you need that
really
too.
is.
Oh yeah.
But that's what just makes us believe we can do it even more.
Absolutely.
But it's just,
Yeah,
we're nothing without our
and don't give
fans,
up, guys.
too,
Like
you know?
I know you're young,
Yeah.
just like we were talking earlier. Like it doesn't happen overnight, and I think you guys already know the deal.
Yeah.
Just don't give up, because we
yeah,
all
we can't.
want to hear you play some music, So
Yeah, man.
Can't give up,
on the topic of hard work, being a producer and writing albums myself, let's segue into that.
Oh
So these guys are getting ready to drop their first studio album, and I'll say studio album. It wasn't necessarily done in a professional studio, but if it's your studio, it's your studio. And these guys put in the hard work, and they treated it like a real studio album. This is not a joke. Fully produced, recorded, and mixed by yours truly. I know that these guys have been working really, really hard at it. I follow these guys online, and I see some of the struggles. Like I'm just talking about the long nights and just it's nonstop. It's not the songs you're gonna hear in the studio today. These are live recordings. A lot easier. We're tracking everything at once. I'm gonna balance it out, and it's not gonna sound as good as what they're doing because it's a live recording. But so. These guys putting in all this hard work for this album, I really truthfully feel this is going to pay off for these guys. And how exciting to be able to say, too, that your very first studio album you guys put out yourself.
Very exciting. And we want to do everything ourselves, in the beginning for sure. And it's always good to do it yourself. You own your own songs. And I just wanted to learn the process.
Yeah.
And yes, it's countless hours and ups and downs.
But
that
almost 9 a.m.
Yeah, every night, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it gotta be worth fighting for. If you're gonna give up on just making something super hard, that means you're not passionate enough. But we're super driven, super passionate. So I'll stay up for 3 days making a song if I had to, because I have to get it done. And it's awesome just knowing how to do it all and learning the whole process.
Finished the final track last night.
Last night we did.
Last night was
Been
the
a long way
final
coming.
track of the album and it's called "See You at the Top" album.
Nice.
The reason why we call it that, my brother, for a long time now, every person he meets, he always tells them,
If it's
see you at
bands,
the
if
top.
it's big artists, I always say, "See you at the top, man."
Nice.
that you gotta believe in it.
And the top, could be anything you make your mind to. If you're just doing it what you love,
you're already at the top. That's what I'm saying. So no, and I like that. And so let's talk a little bit about the album itself. Is there any common theme that you guys kind of grooved into it? Is there
songs in pairs, I guess, if you think
The
about
song,
our different sounding songs, how we don't really have a particular sound.
yeah.
We'll take two that we think that are kind of similar, kind of in the same boat. So there's pairs of
Pairs.
So it kind of walks you through these genres almost as you're listening.
Yeah,
to it,
like I
versus
said
it being
earlier,
all back and forth and crazy.
Yes, sir.
It would make it a little easier to follow, I
Yeah.
imagine too, for sure.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's we want a wide variety, and what this album is really showing is what we can do. You can tell it's a rock and roll, but each song, we want a song for everybody,
Yeah.
and that's really the plan.
Blues, there's ballads, there's some harder rock ones, and that's what we want to bring. And then there's songs about Dark Road. That's about
We're
my
gonna be
brother
doing
and
that
I
today.
were diagnosed with Tourette's at the age of 5. It was
Mm.
and it was hard a lot of the time. Tourette's syndrome.
Yeah, and that what really also got us into music.
Yeah, I was going to
Therapy-
ask, does that
therapy
help? So.
And then
helped us a lot.
it's about
Mental health.
mental health. It's about anything that you're having down and struggling struggling with. And then there's a song, me myself, I'm not an addict, but I know many people who are. There's this new song coming out, and it's called "It's Up to Me" on this album. It's personally probably one of my favorites on the record. And it's just a power ballad about it's called "It's Up to Me." It's just about somebody
struggling with addiction. And many people struggle, and we just want to relate to them.
Yeah, it's a scary thing, and especially with us involved in music. They say a lot of musicians gravitate towards drugs and hard drugs because they're actually trying to replicate the rush they get on stage, which is kind of unfortunate.
That's something we would never do.
And and I think nowadays musicians have a little bit easier of a grip not participating.
Yeah,
compared to like think about like old school rock and roll, it'd be like if we were like in the 70s, we would have done like a shitload of blow before we even started this interview. You know, it's like we're like drinking coffee and like doing lighting and like checking our phones. You know, so it's a different world.
They didn't know the bad and the too bad.
It
wasn't Google and all this stuff.
Yeah, but so I think that's awesome to always like keep that as a perspective though, because I wrote a song called "Slow Dancing with the Reaper," and a lot of people write songs about somebody being involved in drugs and or whatever in their point of view. But I actually think that like a lot of people on the outside get hurt by drug addicts as well too.
They do.
And so 100%. It's like, you know, like for the people involved in the substance, like, and they know it, but like they're taking the herd down with them. Like you can't just be oh, my brother got addicted to heroin. That's fine. It's like, no, like it's going to affect you your whole entire life if that guy dies or if he struggles. So to like keep that perspective, and then like I think for everybody in the world to keep like an open perspective of just kind of like how we all walk the world differently, how we all see things differently, and just kind of respecting that is very important. But then for you guys to honestly be able to like look inward and just think about like how tragic this could be, and then you know put that out there to maybe even help somebody along through it.
And that's what it is, man.
Yeah, and then you know I think it's great to hear like too like talking about like Tourette syndrome and how like music helped you and stuff. Again, these interviews could be somebody out there with Tourette syndrome that never thought to just use the music as a therapy or something like that. So hopefully 100%. That story can help other people look into that.
I know it helped us a ton.
Yeah, well, and it helps all of us because now you're here. So thank you.
Yeah.
So,
thank you, man.
So when it comes to this album, and I want each of you to respond separately because it's going to be an individual perspective. Yes. But what was each of your, first off, favorite thing about writing this album together or just in general, and also your least favorite thing? Because there's, for everything that goes up, something must come down. For every bit of hot, there's something cold. So
well, I'll start. My favorite thing with the recording process or this album overall, just really when the song's done, you know, when you complete it and it sounds great through all the different speakers, if it's the car, the headphones, just JBL speakers, something like that, you know, it all comes together, and just knowing that, you know, we did it in our bedroom, just recording that, and that's just, it's an awesome feeling, just really rewarding. And that's really was the best part of the whole process, just knowing that it came out like that. And then my least favorite part is when you're doing something and you think it's gonna sound amazing, and then it comes out and like, oh man, I gotta redo all that, and you know, it's just a lot of going back and forth over and over again, countless hours, and it's draining. But then again, it builds you up stronger.
No, yeah, it does.
So I guess it's a good, and you know, in the moment it's bad, but when it's done, it's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, and if you guys are Aerosmith fans, well, and I'm sure almost everybody in the world's heard the song "Dream On" at this time. That line, and it's like one of my favorite songs of all time. Like I could play it and probably fall asleep within 2 minutes of hearing it. But when he says, "You got to lose to know how to win," it's so important, man. Like people, I run businesses. I run businesses, right? So I've managed crews of 70, 100 people, and they get so annoyed because every time they mess up, I'm like, man, you got to lose, know how to win, and they're just like, stop saying that, you know. It's just like, but it's true, you know. It's like, but it is like you're saying, like these hardships. It's like, well, guess what? There's gonna be album number 2 and album number 3 and album number 4, and so you mentioned earlier about like just getting better a little at a time. So there's a Japanese principle called Kaizen. So it's the art of incremental improvements. I think a lot of people mess up. They have these epiphanies. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to stop eating fast food. And I'm going to go buy a dog and I'm going to take it for a walk every day tomorrow. And it's like, that's a pretty tall order. Like that's a lot. And it's like, but there's no problem with improving 1% a day for 100 days in a row, or just getting better a little at a time, or diving into something and failing at it. So that way 100%. Now you know how to not fail at it again, which means you know how to have a better success rate the next time you go into doing it. So it's like hearing that, it's like that's where I think people that's where people get discouraged. Is like, it's hard, man. I tried to set up 2 interfaces at one point in the studio for 2 months straight, and just it was a click of a button. I could not figure out what was wrong with it. And like I almost quit.
Sometimes the simplest stuff is the most hard to figure out.
Because our song is up to me, that Battle About Addiction, there was a part, it took us 8 hours to figure out. There was just this
one little dip in the audio
in this chorus, and we couldn't figure out what was doing it. It took us 8 hours, and we finally figured it out. Yeah, it was very mental.
It's stuff like that.
Guess how long the next time it's going to take you to figure it out? 5 minutes, because the first time took you 8 hours. So
and
it's okay.
Just learning that much more with each song, and then going back on different songs, redoing different things like that. Like we released previously, "I Stand Alone, Dark Road," remastered those two songs.
Yeah, redid them, right.
And just hearing the night and day difference between the two is really shown how far.
Oh, you can hear it in Avenged Sevenfold's albums. They've done all their own production since they started, and it's
That's
like
awesome.
listen to their first albums compared to like Hail to the King.
Such a good band.
And it's like you see like how this progresses over. It's an art. So.
Side note to that, just watching him as the producer, how much better he's gotten at it, it's unreal.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's an art form in itself. You know, we were
man.
talking yesterday. The guys came over. We did a little prep work on this stuff, and we were talking yesterday. It's like, you know, there's people who are really good at tracking. There's people who are really good at mixing. There's people who are really good at mastering, and there's really good producers. And then like so. For him to be wearing all these hats is a feat. Like producing, like to know like what sounds to layer or where to come in with something or how to stop something from phasing out or how to set up equipment. And then you got to get the mic placement right, which comes all the tracking. And then like not only like is it using the right plugins but applying them properly and then coming in later and mastering it and getting all your levels right and making sure that it sounds great through everything is like that is an art form. So if anybody doesn't think that, you're wrong. Eventually we'll probably have just a producer or like even a team here. I think would be cool to have like a producer and his tracking engineer and his mixing engineer and just actually have an interview talking about like what this process is all about, because this is not just plug everything into a computer and it comes out sounding like it does on iTunes.
Exactly.
I mean, you're talking for us. I think in order to properly record and mix one song, I think it should take somebody 40 hours. At least. You know, you're talking like a whole week. Well, do that while you're working. Now imagine how hard and straining that gets. So there's a lot of respect that I have out there for the music production, and you know, I think there isn't enough respect. So, you know, next time you're talking to a producer or your buddy who's a producer, give him a fist bump, say thank you, because
give me a fist bump.
Yeah, all these producers out here make it happen. So,
what about you? What were your favorite?
Yeah, favorite and least favorite.
Favorite part, honestly, was writing the songs was my most favorite part because you know, get so creative with it, and when we all like click it together, it's amazing when you hear it come out.
Hearing it back together, just knowing like, what we created.
Hearing them back together is definitely a highlight of the album for me. Just all that stuff. But my least favorite part is probably, like you said.
Similar to me.
Like
in the
back
moment.
And forth, the car stuff. But you know you're doing it for a good reason. So.
Pays off.
It's stressful. It's like a blessing to be that stressed. Like when you're in the situation. So it's like, it's stressful, but you're like, but I'm here. Like I'm writing it out.
Yeah, and if you're stressed out,
to listen to this real quick. But that stress is good. Bring that stress on.
And when you're stressed out and mad about it, that means you want it to be perfect, and that's good.
Yeah, and you get better at coping with your emotions. Like this is an emotional process. So like again, like this is your first album. Like the next one's probably going to be able to get done in probably 75% less time. With half the amount of headaches.
Our process. We went from one song a month to now 4 songs in 1 month.
Yeah, and each song is kind of like its own journey at the same time too. You know, because they're a little different each one, but. I know what you mean. It's just you get better at it, and it's just
I think each song was definitely a learning process the first time.
So were all three of you? I know, like obviously these two live together, but like were you there like when they're mixing? Were you there on those some of those late nights?
I come over to mix my drums, and then there's been some times where I'll sit in like mixing bass and guitar and stuff with that. But they've definitely been up all night doing the majority of it.
Yeah.
So
you come over, go through the drums, and then once the song's done, we just all listen to it together. Yeah,
and then just everybody's feedback goes in.
And then we get the feedback, and we're like, this might have to come down, this might have to go up. You know? Then eventually, super slowly but surely, it comes out. You know, and the song there is 4 new songs and 1 bonus track, so kind of like 5 new songs coming out.
Awesome.
One of the songs we already played live before is called "You Won't Forget My Name," but we definitely made it.
Yeah,
you really day and night difference.
Yeah.
Day and night.
It's very nice.
Yeah, you could have renamed it. No one would even known it was the same thing.
I know. Because it was
I love that though.
Sorry.
What
What
about
about you, Hunter? Yeah, like your what about you?
So my favorite part, I don't know, they might think it's crazy, is like I feel like tracking, like it's a battle, but I love being done with it, like finishing it, like conquering it.
Yeah.
I'm really, really particular. If
Yeah.
like I hear like one note, Gavin will be like, "Oh no, it's fine. No, I'm redoing
Yeah,
it." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Drum tracking's the hardest.
And when you're
like,
doing it yourself via instrument, like my guitar, like they won't hear something that I hear.
Yeah,
Same with
yeah,
your
yeah.
drums,
So the
like,
tracking, it's definitely an uphill battle a lot.
Basically.
And I like
Yeah.
another one is like mixing it too, like they were saying, like hearing it come to life, like once you EQ everything and level it.
You sometimes forget that that's what brings it to life. I've like listened back and I'm like, oh my god, and then I mix it. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, so
like-
you guys do you guys do full mic'd up live drums, correct?
Yeah, we
Just
mic
the
everything.
audience
I don't
knows. There's
go
no
direct
programmed
in.
drums. There's no
No.
triggers here. This is the sound of their kit.
How they used to do it, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and a lot of people nowadays, like I could technically in Pro Tools track out drums, convert that to a MIDI track, pull that MIDI track into Easy Drummer or Superior Drummer, and people will say, well, those drums are already mixed and everything. I do not like that. Like, we have 12 mics on this drum set down here. We'll always do live drums down here. I mean,
That's
when I'm
the
writing
way,
a
man.
song idea, I'll click in some drums, here and there. But,
Right.
so what was your least favorite thing?
My least favorite part is the preparation to record, actually. Like, practicing by myself at home, like, making sure I get my parts down right, because that's where I'll, like, start really going at it with myself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
What's wrong
you're
with you? I
almost
missed one
Yosemite,
thing, and
when
I'm
it
like-
comes to that stuff.
And
You
it's like,
know,
and then you could like
that-
get down on yourself and miss something for
How
like
I
a
feel
whole
about
day,
this.
and then show up the next day and just kill it. So it's like you almost like got to not be your own worst enemy in those situations, because
yeah.
you don't even know how you're gonna feel 3 days later when you're doing it anyways.
Yeah.
You know?
So definitely the preparation is probably my least favorite part.
I think drums, for anybody watching, should know that like that is the hardest thing to capture when it comes to like live recording. Like guitar parts, like you could do direct tracking, or whether you're like miking up a cab, like, and so for people who don't know the process, like a drum set's gonna have like
All kinds
7 to
of
12
It's the
microphones on
basic,
it,
the
denser
basic
mics.
line.
I mean, and every mic catches the next mic, and there's bleed, and it takes a lot
There's
of
a lot
mixing.
of
I mean,
bleed.
guitars, I can do a pre-count and do a part, hit number 3, do my little part, and it's like it's right, and then you just move on. But drums is like you get into the middle of like a cool feel, and like you have to have the right feel going into these parts. So you can't. It's hard to. I do punch in sometimes on the drum tracking, but that's hard. And you're pulling 12 tracks across the
Yeah, it's hard to
It's a
get it.
lot.
so
sound
it's like drums are a lot easier to just get it in one solid take. So I know the pressure Hunter's putting on himself,
Yeah.
because it's like, it's a lot easier to just get it done and be like, that was cool. And maybe you got to go in and like copy and paste a couple snare hits over that
Yeah.
maybe hit the rim,
Yeah,
but then
that'd
like
be good,
to punch in, or to like, we did a whole recording session the other day, and a pillow fell on the microphone in the drum set. So it was like, here we are, like, oh wow, it sounds great, and I'm trying to turn the kick drum up, and it's not going up because a pillow fell on it. Like, it's not.
And that's
It's not
the thing,
easy.
yeah. He got better too. You like did separate takes, and now you just one take like the last few songs,
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah, I think Dark Road is one take. It's up to me. There's like
Two. I
two
think just
takes. It's like the first half and the second half.
Yeah, so that got better.
Yeah.
Maybe one other I can't
Vocals.
remember.
And they're all
Battle
hard
for
to
me.
track. It just to get to mix it. Yeah, for
Yeah.
me, the drums
Vocals.
getting that to sound clean is hard.
Vocals are tough because
They're
of the different
probably-
volume layers and stuff.
Oh.
Personally, for mixing,
Oh
it's
yeah,
most difficult.
nightmare.
Yeah. I know,
Compared
yeah.
to everything, like
Yeah.
everything's difficult to mix.
I'm just grabbing Ozone 11, so anybody who says that I suck for doing that, like, and you don't know, I've done a lot of research on Ozone 11. He mentioned how hard vocals are. You put a reference track into the plugin, it analyzes the entire sound of it, and then it literally like mixes the vocals to sit it like right on the top, the exact way of the reference track you put in. So,
That's awesome.
just so we can continue to always like try to keep educating through this channel as well.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
Ozone 11 is a
Perfect.
great
That's
way
really
with
good.
vocals.
Yeah.
But again, you're recording your first album. You got to learn about all these
Yeah,
tools
learn.
and
Now-
buy them.
now we
plugins
know
are
it
not
better.
cheap. So, but yeah. So with you guys, do you and I don't want to say this in a bad way, but do you think because this is your first album and it's been recorded over the course of a year, do you think because people get better so quickly at things, like,
Yeah.
do your last tracks sound better, like, in your minds? Like, are you like,
You
now
know-
are you like, oh, we have all these extra skill sets, I wish I had time to go back and do this? Or do you think you Like
they yes, there was a difference from the first one to the last
The, like,
we
the last
did,
4 or
yeah,
5.
and that what we're doing right
I
now is
agree.
just going back and tweaking different things in the last week to make sure everything's the same. The majority of it all sounds
exactly.
similar now.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
And the
Cool.
songs definitely get more creative as our time
writing-
goes on.
Well, just in general,
All
you guys
three
are
of
young,
us.
man. Like, you guys are like what? How old are you guys? Just so that everyone knows.
We're
Like,
20.
We're both 20.
Only 23.
yeah, 20 and 23. So I mean, these guys are writing, recording, producing, and trust me, like again, you're gonna enjoy the videos that we make. But yeah, you guys are 20 years old, man.
Yeah, man.
Like,
Yeah, man.
Think about how good you're gonna be in a decade.
Oh,
The whole streamlining of the recording
I'm excited,
process,
man.
the writing process.
I'm so
yeah,
excited for the journey.
we're definitely all in for a treat to watch these guys kind of grow into their
Thank
roles
you,
and
brother.
everything. So
It means a
Um,
lot for you having us on here too, man.
yeah, it is. It's gonna
thanks,
be
man.
it's gonna be a great time. I can't wait to get to recording, get some video and some photos shot and everything like
Absolutely.
that. So I guess I try not to make these interviews go too long. This one I didn't mind going a little bit longer because the importance of your album release and everything. But I guess we can kind of start wrapping it up. But I do want to ask just a couple more questions.
Absolutely.
I like to ask this, and I don't tell people I'm going to ask this question. I did on the Creep and Chaos interview, so you guys might have saw it. But like, I would like each of you to tell the audience something that you like about each other. Like, what keeps, because like, and for all of you to know, like, being in a band is not easy. Like, you could have 4 dudes that you love jamming with, and the 5th dude is a dud, and that whole band will fall apart for whatever reason. I don't know why, but so. It's important to like jam and
100%.
be around people that you like, and honestly, I'll say this because I'm a lover, but people that you love. But so like, just so everyone knows, like, what keeps you three? Besides, I mean, you two are connected. You guys might even have similar DNA. or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
but, what keeps you three just wanting to do this together? Like about each other. Like what makes you hit? You know.
We listen to each other. That's the thing. It's like,
Yeah.
we might disagree on something, but we're never like being mean about it or like
Yeah.
arguing, Some things just have to be some certain ways, but we're understanding about it. There's never really been an argument or whatever
No.
about that kind of stuff. They're better at it than I am of being on time. I'm getting there. But it's that
Always on
and,
the gigs though, man. All that you're right
that
on.
and showing up. Nobody really flakes. Like
Yeah.
especially if
Yeah.
rehearsed. Like
Haven't missed-
we
I think we
haven't
had one
missed a s-
cancel.
We haven't
Yeah,
canceled.
and I think
One
that's
cancel.
important. You could cancel every once in a while, but like you were
Oh,
saying,
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
communication and then and listening, because like I think most people don't even realize that probably like 95% of the time they get frustrated in the world has to do with like a lack of respect. Like, oh, someone didn't respect my time, or they didn't respect my opinion, or they didn't respect this, and it's just like you can disagree with somebody and still respect what they had to say. You know, like
Yeah.
and you can like think maybe somebody's an idiot, but you don't have to make them feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, or whatever, not saying any of you guys think each other idiots, but it's just like, I think one thing a lot of people overlook, and I think it's overlooked almost in most of the world, is composure. Like, we're like animals at the end of the day. So like, like our first instinct is to kind of be an asshole, and it's just like, but then like composure and respect needs to kick in. And it's like, so I'm glad you said that, because that's what makes most bands fall apart.
Yeah, we have respect for each other.
Yeah,
Yes, we
that's
do.
really it, too.
And that we're feeling the same on stage. Like, I'm not like just there the whole time. I go in the back, we look at each other, we smile because we know it's awesome. And having my brother with me, and
yeah, and that's huge. I mean, obviously,
it's
you guys know
awesome
me and
having my
brother
own
in a band
twin
together.
in my band,
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
and then we all collide so well, and we're all
Yeah,
They
we're
not
all
really
brothers, man. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, and I was gonna say, honestly, he kind of looks like your brother.
We
and
get
like,
that a lot.
Yeah, and like it might just be because you guys got the big, long, same colored hair or
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
We're just, but
we're all creative too.
but I
with
think it's
writing.
also the way that you guys like your energy when you're together.
Yeah,
Is that,
yeah.
like, because there are a lot of bands that
Yeah.
it's like a 3-piece and they're all in a family, and it's like 3 brothers or 2 cousins and a brother or whatever. So like I think a lot of people would assume that, but a lot just because of your closeness and your energy and like the connectivity on stage. Like I think that's what people don't realize is like you could have one guy going crazy on stage putting on a good show, but like it takes all the members to
It
have
does.
a connectivity and a fluidness with each other in
Yeah.
order for that show
It's
to
a
be
direct
powerful.
reflection on the band if one member's lacking, and that's the thing I really love about us. We can go in even just a jam room or a bedroom, and once we all 3 play, it feels like we're at a live show, man. And
Yeah,
just that energy that we
Every
beat off
time,
each
dude.
other.
Yeah, my favorite.
That's what I love about
thing
us.
though, about you, Hunter, is that you always show up. You always, make sure that your drums are tight. You never give up with that stuff too.
Thanks, dude.
And it's just
Always
so much
tight.
dedication with that. And the drums are always so tight. And if you like slip a tablet, you make sure that's perfect. And that's really inspiring for a lot of my bass parts too. It makes me more like, oh yeah, let me make this
Yeah,
tight
get in
and
the
go with
pocket
the
with
drum.
them, yeah.
So it inspired me to make more unique bass stuff to go with the fill. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of stuff that I like.
Yeah, like you had
What
some random like new fills, and when we're recording, we come together and make parts that sync right up with the fills, and
Yeah,
it's
no,
really
that's-
fun writing the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, because then it's like you're writing together, and then like that's like what binds those energies.
Yeah.
It's like we were talking
Yeah,
earlier.
cool.
It's like you could throw like 4 layers that are boring on top of each other,
Yeah.
4 boring layers, but it's like you feeding off of him and him feeding off of you, and then like
Yeah.
because you're busy doing this cool bass thing, he might come up and do a scream or something.
Yeah.
It's like, and then like you guys all kind of fill in, and then like
Right.
it becomes this huge energy. And then you could feel it because you guys all want to be there together.
Right?
Yeah.
And my brother, he never gives up to the thing that I really like about him. He makes sure that he learns like everything. He researches things for hours. Can't think of a time when I've not seen him on a computer looking up something new.
Mm.
He's learning everything about promoting. He's
The best way to promote and get our
So
music out
good.
there and heard. That's the thing. A lot of people like say, "Man, my song's better than this famous song. How is
Yeah.
it so much bigger?" It's not that; it's the way you promote that
No,
song
well,
and how you get it out there.
and every
Some people-
song's good in every.
Yeah, when somebody will
songs,
say
yeah.
like, "Oh, I want to write a radio hit," or "We need to write a hit," and it's like, to be honest,
Yeah.
unfortunately, in a way, you can almost turn anything into a hit nowadays if you
You
market
can.
it the right
There's some
way.
songs that
There's
sound
some
good,
songs I
songs
listen to,
amazing.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I'm like, how
How
that
did- how
big?
did that-
And then
this
there's
is
some
huge.
songs that are like incredible that don't get enough recognition.
Yep, and you know what? That's why hopefully most musicians, like we already said, do it for themselves because yeah, sometimes you write the
That won't
dankest
be-
song ever, and you're like so proud of it, and you post it online, and then you like share it. Your same aunt and uncle would always say amazing comment, but then like you get like 54 views on YouTube, and it's like
Flop.
it's not a shitty song. It's YouTube. There's 30 million songs per year that get released on Spotify. That is a real
So if you
statistic.
see like 2 or 3 likes on your videos, don't feel
Don't
like
be
that it's a
discouraged.
bad song.
there was
Don't
30
feel like
million
you did a
other
bad
ones that
job.
people had to filter through.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It ain't
so-
about
The way you
it
promote.
just not getting out the way it
And-
should, and maybe it not hit the right people. It just if you're happy about it, all that.
Because
truly
really,
Yeah,
there's a
matters.
song for everybody.
Yeah, there's a song
Really.
for everybody, and there is a way around it. If you want your songs to get more views, like I used to get 50 views on some of my YouTube videos. Now I post every day. I have this content. I have this channel going, stuff like that. And, some of the shorts from the Creep and Chaos video were in the thousands of views. You know?
Yeah,
And it's just like, and
yeah.
it grows.
Nice.
I'm up to 4,200 followers on my Instagram page. But guess what? I
Nice.
schedule a post every single day. I'm constantly liking other people's posts. Like, and
Yeah,
there's,
it's a
there's
routine.
so there's ways to do it, but I think the biggest thing here is that these guys all respect each other and that they
Yeah,
all
they do.
see the hard work that each other are putting in because
Come
that feels really shitty when you're working with a group of people. You put in a huge effort. Maybe you're the one that just put together all the merch, or you're the one kind of pulling weight, or it's your vehicle that has to be driven out to the show every time, or whatever it is. Like, and then like if that goes unnoticed and like somebody doesn't respect that, like actually hurts your feelings. Like you can't ignore it. Like it's probably turn into a sweet song like a couple weeks after it goes down.
Yeah.
But it's like these guys all respect each other, and I think like like Hunter mentioned that they listen, but I think another huge thing that I can already take away is that they see what each other are bringing to the table. That makes them want to bring more to the table on their end.
Absolutely.
So like if you're in a band and like you think that like there's something that can change, or like just I think the biggest thing to start is listening. Like sit down with your band, talk, like listen to each other, like see where everyone's coming from, like and then respect each other and respect each other's times. Like
That
people
is
cancel on band practices or don't show up, or they show up a half hour, an hour late. Like these guys are all getting along, and mark my words, like everyone's gonna know about these guys one day. And if I
Thank
can
you,
do
man.
anything to help, I will.
Thank you.
But the
Same
reason
goes
why
for you,
that's
man.
possible is because I know these guys are going to put in the hard work. And the reason why they're so good at what they do is no, they're not aliens. I know they're identical twins and they shred and everything, but they're just hard workers. You heard their story. They got instruments when they were younger, and it helped them, and it was therapy for them, and they just never stopped playing them. So all these guys are going to test that any of us can do it. Maybe not as good as these guys, but just try, and you'll maybe get there. And
thank you.
yeah, so it's absolute privilege to be able to talk to these guys today.
It's an honor being on here, man.
Yeah, and so we're gonna break the set down, and we're gonna take a little break and get to rocking out and everything. You guys want to let the audience know we're gonna do 3 songs today?
Yeah.
What's the 3 songs that they can look forward to hearing?
I Don't Want You No More,
I Stand Alone,
and Dark Road.
So we're going to capture those here in Mic'd Up Studios. I got one of my best friends in the world here, Blair. He's a bass player in my band Going Nowhere. He captures some amazing photography. And then let's make sure everyone knows where to find you. When is that album release party? When does the album drop? Let's hear about your socials. And then anything you want to say to the audience before we stop. And then I'm going to do my little tagline and we're going to get out of here.
Awesome, man. Yeah, March 29th. Is our CD release party. It's going to be our biggest show yet. We are so excited for it, and we hope to see you guys all there.
At the Token Lounge in Westland, Michigan.
Doors at 7 p.m.
Are tickets still available for this show, or is it?
Yeah,
it is.
Okay.
Yes,
Our
online ticket.
I bet you it's probably going to sell out. If not, come very
it's
close.
getting up there.
It's getting up there. I've already
sure
talked to a couple
tickets.
people. So yeah, make sure you get some tickets. And honestly, if you can't make it, buy somebody else tickets. Spread the word. Local music is amazing. The Token is a great venue.
It is.
The only thing that I'd have to say about the Token is that I don't get to get up there enough. But John Anton's a great guy. We're gonna go up there and see these guys.
We're excited,
And,
man. And we're gonna have some great bands opening.
Yeah. So who do you guys got opening up for you that day?
So I'll start with our direct support, Wanted. They're sounds like the straight from the 80s, man. They're awesome.
They look like it too.
They're awesome.
Dope. It's
They're
a fun
awesome
show.
band from
Guys.
Detroit. And then
In the middle is Echoes of Eons. They're good friends of ours. They're kind of like a
Really
new
good
classic rock, hard rock kind of sound too.
They're good guys.
Yeah,
awesome.
They're awesome.
Awesome retro sound. And then
Opener.
Portal 27. It's our friend Cole, and this is actually their first gig ever. So it's an
gonna be an
honor
exciting
to
day.
do it with them. And, you know,
have them on the boom, man.
yeah, they're great. They like alternative rock, but, you know, I don't really know what to put them into. They're
They're
really
great
good.
sound. Cole,
They're really
he's a
great.
friend of ours, and he comes to every one of our gigs, man. And
Nice.
that support, we had to tag him along.
Oh yeah,
And
for his first gig
on
ever,
this
he's
gig.
probably gonna
Oh,
be like
yeah.
350,
Yeah.
400 people.
it's gonna
at
be
the
a good
Token.
crowd for
Yeah.
them, man. So
Yeah.
we're excited for them to be on the
We
bill
help
with
each
us.
other out,
Yeah.
the local bands, you know.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
that's
what it is.
what
It's
you
a
can all
community. That's
only
it.
X from each other.
Yeah,
you
we
know?
were talking earlier. I do feel like a lot of that has been lost because like you think you're part of this like giant community online, which we're grateful for anybody who's participating and watching these videos, but like actions speak louder than words. All we can do online is say words. So like these guys are actually out gigging with other bands, collaborating. You know, they've talked about us doing other shows together. I know they've done additional shows with bands that we jammed with the first time we met them. So it's like, you know, a lot of people don't realize, like, even the grunge scene in Seattle, like, these bands were, like, glued together. They were all friends. They all partied together. They all swapped members and stuff like that. And you can look at, like, all these other scenes. Like, why do you think, like, they say, like, Motown? Like, there was a group of people who came up in Motown. There wasn't one guy who invented Motown. It's when a common group of people has a similar idea and they want to share the experience, it just makes it super powerful. You know, like, it's in the Pink Floyd quote is, you know, united we stand and divided we fall. So it's like the more of us that can stand together, the stronger we're gonna stand.
As an army, you gotta build together, man,
Yeah.
because you're all going for the same goal.
Oh yeah, there'll be a faded army. I mean, there might be like, you know, 2 different ones. There's gonna be like a faded army with like a bunch of people like stoned at like hash bash, and then there's gonna be like the ones that are like following you guys with the piston. But we'll take both.
Right.
And with the socials, you can find all of our stuff on fadedrock.com. They have all of our socials, all the Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, all that.
You guys can buy
Find our
merch on
song.
there and stuff like that. So.
We don't
Merch
have a
is at
merch store
shows
yet.
right now.
At all Faded shows, you can find our merch.
Yeah. So they got shirts. I'm sure they got other things.
We got
too.
beanies, hats,
stickers.
koozies, stickers. Yeah.
Nice.
That'll take a long time if we name
Well,
off everything, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Keychains.
so
It's getting a lot, but it's amazing. It's
You can
amazing.
find us on Instagram at faded_rock and on Facebook at faded rock as well.
great. So yeah, definitely check them out. I'm gonna be tagging them in all the posts here. And then, so usually the way that People of Passion goes, the interview will come out first, followed by some clips, and then we're going to release it song by song. I can't wait to get to recording with these guys. So I am going to continue bringing bands down here. I'm going to continue writing music, playing music, going out and checking music out. I'm also a passionate person about just art and gardening and just people in general. So it's always a privilege for me to be around other people of passion. So I call my channel 4,000 Weeks Music because 4,000 weeks is the average amount of time a human lives for. That's what I want to spend my 4,000 weeks doing, is surrounding myself with music. How are you going to live yours?